Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Music Den. I'm of course your host Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a fantastic day and that you're looking after yourselves and one another. I have with me today Mr. Ryan Gavalier. How's it going, Ryan?
Oh, I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Doing good for a Thursday. It's almost a weekend. Can't wait for that. So, guys, we're gonna do another album spotlight episode, and in light of the new reissue box set coming out of Frank Zappa's Overnight Sensation. I thought we would do a bit of an album analysis on this. Some would say classic album, some would say screwed up album, some would say innovative album. So Ryan and I are going to have a nice discussion about this. I've listened to the album, and this is pretty much brand new territory for me. It's almost like a new music discovery for me for this album. But I've listened to the album. I made my notes, but I'm going to let Mr. Gavalier here go first and give you his impression of this album. But just a bit of background on this album. This is Zappa's 12th release, released September 7th, 1973, on first release for Discreet Records. Featuring this is where Mothers of Invention, or the new version of the Mothers of Invention, got back together, featuring George Duke on keyboards, none other than Jean-Luc Ponty on violin and baritone violin. Other members of Mothers of Invention, Ruth Underwood, Ian Underwood, Tom Fowler on bass, and none other than Tina Turner and the Ikettes on background vocals, uncredited. And a little bit of background on that. The story goes is that they were recording some tracks for the album at Bollock Sound, and Ike Turner insisted that Tina Turner and the Ikettes get paid a whopping $25 a day for these sessions, because they worked on 4 of the tracks. Worked out to be $25 an hour. So each member of the Ikettes, including Tina Turner, got a whopping $187 for their efforts. And it also has been reported that Ike Turner demanded Frank Zappa not give Tina Turner any credit on the album whatsoever. Take from that what you will. We're not going to go there. We all know what happened there, so we're not going to go there. So, without any further ado, Mr. Gavalier, first of all, good to see you again. And please give us your impressions on Overnight Sensation.
Dynamite. No, that was
It's
animal. No.
going to be that kind of
It's
an episode,
crazy.
guys. Sorry.
Say, give me an impression, but that's my impression. But yeah, no, it's a crazy album. I have mixed feelings about Frank Zappa overall. I absolutely love some of his stuff. Some of it just doesn't work for me, depending on like the era, depending on the album, the lineup. But um, especially I love stuff like Lumpy Gravy. I love Hot Rats. I love Apostrophe. I love uh um what's it called? Chung's Revenge. I love like wow, I'm blanking on the name. Sorry.
It's fine.
Second album.
The second album that he released ever.
Yeah, right
It's not.
after.
I'm
Sorry.
blanking. I'm blanking on it too. So yeah, because
Yeah,
he's
we'll
he's got.
forget about. There's just so many albums. I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah.
even.
I mean, ladies and
I
gentlemen.
know.
Sorry, just one sec, ladies and gentlemen. If you're not familiar at all with Frank Zappa's catalog, Wikipedia has got like pages and pages of releases from him.
Hmm.
Um, So the fact that Ryan's blanking on it right now, or he's looking it up, don't get discouraged by it, please, because he's got a lot of releases that I'm not even aware of, right? So
Absolutely free. I love that album.
absolutely free. Okay.
That's a classic. You know, he has a lot of good stuff, and that's basically what my point was.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
But
definitely.
this album is one that I've honestly had a little bit of a journey with, because in the past I was not much of a fan of this album. Um, I felt like for me it was too goofy, but I think as I've gotten older, I've gotten goofier. So
Yeah.
now I'm starting to appreciate it a lot more. Um, obviously on a musical level, the album's brilliant. Like there is like little moments where it's a tiny bit too flashy for my taste, like some of the guitar stuff. Just like when it gets like super, super fast at times, it just like that's not really my preference, but I would say like overall the arrangements are absolutely brilliant. There's like so many good bass lines throughout this album. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
all the like brass and like all the backing vocals, like you were talking about like Tina Turner and stuff. It's like all so magical and so jarring and avant-garde and also like funny at the same time. So it's just like such a like overstimulating mix of things that I think at first it was honestly like it felt too excessive to me in the past.
Hmm.
Like I felt like it was trying to do too much at once. But I think as I've gotten older, my mind is opened a little bit older, and like I feel like it makes more sense to me. Because I feel like now, like Camarillo Burlo, like it feels like a weird ass kind of like Thin Lizzy type of song. I like it. Like it's kind of like melodic rock. It's kind of up tempo, kind of goofy. So I like that. I Am the Slime's obviously weird as shit. Like a lot of like pitch changes and stuff with vocals, a lot of like fart sounding guitar noises and
Yeah.
like stuff like that. Like, you just have a lot of disgusting sounds. It really does feel like you're like walking around in a sewer or something when you're listening to that song. And obviously, there's a lot of sexual innuendos involved with that one, as there is with most of the albums. But it's also like that one I think is kind of criticizing TV too, from what I remember. Um, so like, yeah, like it's an interesting song. It's definitely one of my favorites on the album, but not my favorite. I do like Dirty Love a bit more personally. I think that one's pretty funny. I like the funk and like um just general R&B kind of vibe to it, which this whole album has a lot of. Like,
Hmm.
especially as it goes on, it gets more like jazzier and funkier, kind of soul at times. Like, it's a really interesting mix of music, and it obviously shows that like Zappa is really someone who has a lot of respect for a lot of different kinds of music. But obviously, this song's really sexual, and the lyrics are meant to be pretty funny, and like the album I think that was something that like I had to grow on with the album is how like aggressively fucking like dirty it is. Like I think at first I was maybe a little bit put off and not like offended, but just like this just kind of feels dumb to me. I think
Almost
that's how
like
I felt in the past.
too
Um
much.
yeah, it just felt dumb, like he was just
Yeah.
running out of ideas or something. Like obviously he wasn't, but it felt like at that moment. And like he kind of went more into that territory as time went on. And I do think some of it did end up being kind of lazy as time went on. But like on this one, I actually do think his like dirty sense of humor works really well. Um, and 50/50 is also really cool. That's another one that's kind of like fusiony and stuff. A lot of good brass and such in there. Zombie Wolf is super heavy. I like that one a lot. I mean, the lyrics are creepy. It's kind of atmospheric. It's definitely like kind of jazzy at times, but also like some really heavy guitars in there. It's definitely one of Zappa's heavier songs, in my opinion, and it's pretty sweet.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
Dynamo Hum is probably my favorite one. It's just so funny to listen to. It's just like, um, yeah, just about trying to make some woman come, basically. It's like
Two
it's
women,
just, huh?
two women.
Yeah, two women. It's just like it's funny.
Yeah,
It's pretty intense. Like
yeah,
it might not be for everybody, but it's a pretty funny song and it's
yeah, yeah,
groovy for sure too. A lot of good arrangements in there. Montana, I like a lot. I like Zappa's vocal phrasing on this one a lot. I like the kind of like R&B feel to it once again. And
yeah,
he really nailed that sound on this album. And I know
yeah.
this album's considered like one of Zappa's pop albums,
I
which
I
take
can
that
see
for what
that.
take that for what it is though, because it's still like a weird motherfucking album. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
crazy. And so I feel like, yeah, I like it a lot more than I used to. I'd even say now it's an album that I have a lot of interest in revisiting again, like soon. Um, and kind of studying it a little bit because I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff. Like,
yeah,
I think I want to say it's in Dynamo Hum. There's some cool like little keyboard stuff in that song too. Um, that I really like, and that kind of reminds me of some of the shit that I do with my music. And then like there's some like use of like vibraphones and stuff, and like I love all that. Like
yeah,
that's literally like the kind of stuff that I'm trying to work on right now. Like I'm definitely doing a lot more like orchestral stuff for my current album I'm working on. So listening to this now and then listening to the way you kind of like mix like funk in, I'm like, oh shit, this is kind of like the vibe that I've been channeling right now. Like not entirely, but like definitely less comedic for sure. It's not a comedic album I'm working on, but like just I felt a lot of inspiration listening to it again. So like
yeah,
I don't think I could give it like an actual rating, honestly,
yeah,
because I am still like it's such a weird album. I don't know how you rate it. Like that's really my honest
yeah,
opinion. Like not
yeah,
straightforward at all. Like it's a very experimental and polarizing album. Like it's going to affect everybody very differently. Like
yeah,
I feel like I wanted to lean to like a 4 out of 5, but that just feels kind of obsolete to me because it's like for what it is, it's the best it could be.
yeah. I don't think you can really rate this album or really any of his albums in terms of like because I mean Frank Zappa's done different different type of music, different types of music, not only from album to album, from track to track on one album kind of thing, right? So I wouldn't even bother trying to give this album a rating. What the one thing with Frank Zappa, ladies and gentlemen, is there are no limits, there are no rules. I mean, he did whatever the hell he wanted to do musically. Um, yes, this album does focus primarily on sexual exploits. I mean, Camarillo Brillo, I mean, like you said, very, very easygoing track, nothing out of the ordinary in terms of the arrangements and stuff. Yeah, it's interesting that you gave it the Thin Lizzy kind of comparison, right? Like that kind of musically. But I mean, he's talking about meeting somebody and basically meeting a groupie and having sex,
Yeah,
with her.
yeah,
Um, I'm the Slime is an indictment on the effects of media like television and print at the time, and no internet or anything like that at the time, 1973, and how people will believe what they are told on TV and what they're told in print. and the effects of that, right? I was telling Ryan before we started taping that I remember seeing his performance of this on Saturday Night Live and thinking, because I must have been 8 at the time, yeah, right, 8 years old, thinking, what the hell am I watching? Like, what is this shit, right? Because at one point you had like the slime coming down on the screen, like in front of the, like, and they had the close up of his face on the monitor, and this slime was covering his face. And I'm thinking, like, okay, this is not what should be watching. But I mean, it proved a point, right? And I mean, again, Dirty Love to me, it's a good funk rhythm on that track. Really, really funky. There's a lot of funk rhythms on this album, and he does some really good, fantastic guitar soloing on this. 50-50, like, I mean, again, I just focus basically on the music, right? And for 50-50, I put my notes like, nice keyboards, good funky bass line, and he does some really good guitar soloing on this. He has a really sort of thick tone in his guitar and his approach, right?
Yeah,
A lot of fuzz, and he uses the distortion pedal quite a bit, not to the full extent. He just sort of eases it on the pedal and just sort of backs off when he needs to, and just sort of he doesn't use it to the full extent. Zombie Wolf,
yeah,
I mean, come on, Zombie Wolf. I mean, you've got Tina Turner and the Ikettes on backup vocals. Um, and the guy that does the lead vocals, his name is Ricky. Uh, I forget it. It's an Italian name. Uh, it, the last name is fading on me now, but I mean, he's got a fantastic growl on it in his vocal approach, just really comedic, right? And it's a very, and the track itself is very intricate in terms of the arrangements and using vibraphone and all that kind of stuff. um and again, really good guitar soloing on this track. Dynamo Hum, come on, I mean, you know am I gonna go there? you know what's to say about Dynamo Hum? Quite a bit, right? But the fact that, again, story of he meets this woman, she dares him to make her climax, and, oh, by the way, I have a sister. You know what I mean? If you can't make me climax, you can make her climax. And oh my God, you know what I mean? Like, it goes all over the place, right? And Montana, going to Montana, gonna raise me some dental floss. I mean, the rules with Frank Zappa, again, there were no rules. He did whatever he wanted to do. No subject was off limits. You either loved his work, you thought it was innovative, or you thought he was off the wall, right? And he always said in interviews, he never was one to write about, boy meets girl, girl meets boy, I love you, let's go live whatever, and let's go live off in, la la land and have a family, whatever. And that's the end of the story. He wanted to do what excited him musically. And he obviously did. I mean, and he really didn't get a lot of uh financial support from like a main distribution in terms of labels. I think he did one album directly for Warner Brothers in '77, but then he was off the label because he didn't like the way they were going to promote him and the way they were supporting him. So, I mean, yeah, this album, how to categorize it? Because when you read up on it, it says it's progressive rock. Would you consider his music to be progressive rock or prog?
I wouldn't really say prog, but like I do think it's progressive. Like I don't really categorize them as like the same as like Yes and stuff like that. Like Yes is like quintessential prog in my opinion. Like I don't feel like Zappa's really that kind of vibe at all, but I do think he's progressive as he like fuses a lot of genres together and stuff. So I would agree with
Yeah.
the word progressive rock. I just think in a different kind of way, but I would say like that experimental rock, funk rock, like um
Yeah.
confusion, like I just feel like experimental rock is probably like the best kind of phrase because I feel like that's really all encompassing.
I mean, okay, so progressive in the way he presents the music and the way he puts the music across, like records it.
Yeah, he's always changing. He
Yeah,
progresses.
yeah, like
I
for
mean, like you look at a lot of the like prog bands, they didn't really progress over time. A lot of them, like they kind of sounded the same, like but him, he was actually progressive. He was always changing. Like
yeah, yeah,
kind
no,
of honestly, if
definitely.
I was going to compare him to any prog band, it would probably be like Crimson because they were always changing too.
Yeah, yeah,
But like, I don't
most
think
of
he sounds like Crimson at all. But like, yeah,
yeah, I agree with you, and there's a difference between being prog and being progressive. Uh, like because I did this show a while back on Tears for Fears songs from the Big Chair, and the topic was, is this a progressive rock album? And my comment was that album wasn't classic prog rock. It was progressive in the way they did their music and the way they presented it to the audience, but not progressive rock in the classic sense, in the true sense, like King Crimson or Yes. I agree
yeah,
with you. I think he was progressive in his way of thinking and this because he was very forward thinking, right? Because I mean, who has vibraphone, violin, keyboards, horns, all in one track? It's like,
yeah. I mean, it's like Miles Davis kind of shit.
yeah, yeah,
Great. No, it's a cool album, and I like him. I have mixed feelings as the albums go on, honestly.
okay,
Like I'm not too big a fan of his like 80s output. But like that 60s and 70s stuff especially.
okay. So, because I've heard people say that he hit his peak with this album. What do you think about that?
This one,
Yeah,
I mean, I think he has better albums than this one, honestly. I mean, I'm like a big fan of like that real early era of Zappa. Like I'm like discounting Freak Out 'cause, like I think Freak Out's good, but it's not particularly my favorite of his. I
mhm.
like I was saying earlier, I do really love Lumpy Gravy and Hot Rats and Absolutely Free, Chung's Revenge. For me, like this is definitely in that like run of albums that I
Okay,
feel like going through there. And there's like some in the middle of that that I'm not too big on, like um what's it called? Ruben and the Jets. I'm not like a giant fan of that one. It's good though. But
okay,
like, like we're only in it for the money is great. Uncle Meat is great. Uh, gosh, like there's so many good ones in that era. So I don't know, like if this one would be the peak for me, but it's definitely like in that classic run of albums. And then after this one, there's like um Zoot Allures, which I really like quite a bit.
yeah, that
Uh,
was the one for Warner Brothers, directly for Warner Brothers.
and Apostrophes right after this. And Apostrophes a really good album too.
Yeah,
Um, I have mixed feelings about Jim's Garage, honestly. To be real, like I think that a lot
Joe,
of it's really Joe's
Joe's
Garage.
Garage,
It's a three-parter. It's like I think it was like 70.
79.
Well, Shake Your Booty was 79.
Oh, okay.
He
Okay.
was like 70, might have also been 79, something like that, but it was a three-parter, Joe's Garage. It's all right. I like some of it a lot, some of it not quite as much. Shake Your Booty's kind of the same way. He did start to get a little bit uneven, but I do think he had some really good ones after this still.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And guys, like I said before, when all these albums that we're mentioning, I mean, this is a man who recorded enough material to be able to release 3 albums at one time, and he never stopped. So when you go and check up on his catalog, you're going to see lists and lists of albums. I got a question for you, Ryan.
Hmm.
Um, Warner is reissuing his box sets. The reissue of Overnight Sensation, which I'll put a picture up of at the end, is coming out with a 4 disc set November 3rd. I have my copy pre-ordered. I hope you guys have yours. Um, it's been said that the estate needs to back off a little bit on the reissuing and releasing of sets, because this is like the umpteenth set that's been released in, say, 2 years. Like
Yeah.
literally, like every 6 months, there's a new reissue coming out. What is your take on that? Do you think they should slow down a bit, or are they doing what they should be doing, like really releasing music like was set after set, not giving time for the fans to digest what's already been released previous?
To be honest, like as someone who doesn't really buy that kind of stuff, I don't even really notice how many of the box sets are coming out.
Okay.
I mean, like, I think a lot of that stuff's pretty unnecessary, honestly. So I don't really buy it very much.
Okay.
But I mean, it just depends on what the market wants. Like, if people keep buying it, people are gonna keep making it. And like, I think that's cool. Like,
Okay.
I think people obviously love his stuff and they love to get bonus tracks and like he has a lot of cool ones. And what I have seen is some of the box sets that have come out of his, they look like they have pretty cool like packaging and stuff too at times. So I mean, it looks like they do a pretty good job with them. So like, if people want them, then power to them. I don't have an issue with it. It's just not really something I pay attention to personally.
Yeah. Okay. Well, when I for this set, they have what I like about these sets too is they have like unreleased full concerts. Like for the Overnight Sensation box set, they have 2 concerts in full. One at the Cobo Hall in Detroit, and one at the Hollywood Palladium in LA. Right.
Mhm.
So, and these are complete sets. These are not like just like 10 tracks or 7 tracks of from these shows. That's what I like about these sets, is that they have, these full concerts. Um, I'm just asking, getting your opinion, because I mean, people have said to me, there's just so much material coming out at one time that people need to be able to digest what's already been released, say 6 months before, and then having another set come out like right away is a bit
Yeah,
much. Is a
I'm
bit much.
I mean, I feel that. I mean, like like I said, it doesn't really bother me, but like I
Yeah,
feel like it's that's probably a little soon to be releasing box sets and stuff, but people also just have the choice to buy it when they want. They don't
that's
have to buy it
exactly.
right away. Like, like
Yeah,
they can
exactly,
wait.
exactly,
Like, so I don't know
exactly.
like why people would bitch about something like that because honestly, it's like you don't have to buy it the day it comes out. Buy it when you want to. Like
I know,
they're
I
literally putting
know.
out material Frank Zappa that like you haven't heard before. Why bitch about it? either just stream it
That's
because it's all on
exactly it.
streaming too. Like, damn it, just buy a Spotify and listen to it on streaming. Like,
Yeah.
if you're worried about dropping the money, then just stream it or something. Like it, there's plenty of options. It's on YouTube probably. Like, I
Yeah.
just don't see what there is to complain about. But
Yeah. Yeah. No, and guys, I've fallen into that trap too, where I used to think when a new album came out or a new like a reissue came out, I had to have it like right when it dropped, like right away. And sometimes you don't have the money to put
yeah,
out, right? So that's why I like getting stuff from Amazon, because you can pre-order and they don't charge you until it's shipped, right? So
yeah,
that's the good part. And just a little footnote, little caution, uh, warning here. The Frank Zappa Overnight Sensation 4-disc set that's coming out November 3rd. You can get it through his own website for $103, which I did, or you can wait, get it on Amazon, same set for $91.99. So I jumped the gun. I pre-ordered it. Okay, it's coming, but you know what? It does pay to back off a little bit and just wait a little bit and be a little patient. So,
yeah.
but
Honestly, I just feel like, you know, I think it's good they're putting this stuff out.
yeah,
Like I said, I mean, because it's not like it's just on CD. Like it's probably going to be on streaming too, right? Like most of those things are.
yeah, yeah,
So it's like, I don't know. I feel like they're just putting out stuff that people can listen to, and I think that for a lot of people that's a good thing. So I'm for it. Like it's cool to
yeah.
have that available, and um yeah, just get it when you want to get it.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. Just another quick question. People have said that, okay, this album came out and the material for Apostrophe was recorded at the same time. And that I've heard some people say that this album should be released as like a double pack with Apostrophe. Do you agree with that? Or
It, I have seen that before. I actually
you
at my work there's a CD double set of the
really?
two, a double CD, yeah. Like it might have sold already, but like they just did it as like a two pack,
Okay.
like
Oh, cool.
apostrophe dash overnight sensation. I
Okay.
have seen that before. I mean, like this is like a 38-minute long album. Like I feel like it does feel a little bit short, but I also like its length. Like I do think I was a little surprised when it ended that it ended.
Yeah,
Like I
because
was kind of like, oh wow, I honestly could have listened to more songs, but like
yeah, yeah,
I also don't think that's a bad thing because it just makes me want to just listen to it again. So I don't
yeah,
know. I wouldn't want it to be a double album. I think it's good that they're two separate albums.
yeah.
I don't. I mean, the material I think would probably fit okay together.
Mm-hmm,
Um, in my opinion, I think it would fit okay. Like I
mm-hmm.
think even on the streaming version of the album, they have a bonus track. It's just called bonus track, and um, and it had like a little bit of the song apostrophe mixed into it, like that main guitar riff on
Okay.
apostrophe, which is great guitar riff. But they even had that on Overnight Sensation. So I feel like the albums could flow together, but personally, I'm a big fan of single albums. I don't really jump to double albums as quickly as I do single albums. So I think it works out better for
Yeah.
me.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah, actually I was surprised at the length of both albums. I think this Overnight Sensation clocks in at like 34 minutes, and I think Apostrophe is like 32. So I mean, it's they're quite short, guys. They're not long albums. I know most of you out there don't want to sit down and listen to an album for an hour long, but I mean, these are quite short albums.
Yeah.
And yeah, and well, I mean, yeah, there's no right or wrong answer here. I mean, like you can stream the album if you want, you can buy it, sit and listen to it, and again, Frank Zappa's type of music may not be for everybody. I mean, he was certainly he was a man of eclectic tastes, okay? And let's just put it that way. And he literally put everything he had into his music in terms of his arrangements and using vibraphone, using violin, horns, keyboards, guitar solos. And you either like them or you don't. That's
Yeah.
what I find too. I find that just quickly, I find that people either like Frank Zappa or they can't stand him. There's no sort of middle of the road kind of
I'm weirdly
consensus.
middle of the road.
Really? Okay, so you're one of the few that
No, like I really like some of his stuff, but I do think he had a really uneven career.
okay. Yeah.
And like that's coming from someone who like really, really, really likes like I would say more than 10 of his albums. So it's not even like I'm like, oh yeah, Hot Rats was great. The rest sucks. Like, no, it's
Yeah.
like I like Frank Zappa. Like, I just feel like once the 80s kicked in, that slinky production didn't do him well.
Okay.
It really did not do him well. It does some people well, but I think it honestly killed his sound for
Okay.
me.
Okay. Okay.
So
Well,
I am kind of middle of the road because I wouldn't say like honestly like I would say like Prince in terms of somebody with a huge catalog. I like more of his albums than I like Frank Zappa.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, like and I even some of Frank Zappa's older stuff isn't my favorite. Like so it's not even like it's just the later stuff. Like some of his old stuff I think is kind of uneven too. And I think it's just because he was putting stuff out so fast, he was trying so many different things. Obviously some things weren't gonna work as well.
Yeah.
He was just doing everything and didn't mean he did everything well. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, bottom line, back in the 70s and even in the late 60s, there were no rules. Again, right? You could do whatever you want. And I mean, Frank Zappa was a musician, he was a businessman, he had his own record company, Bizarre Records, which he sold to Warner Brothers. And I don't know if people who probably know this, but he signed the Alice Cooper Group to their first record contract,
Yeah,
right? And helped produce their first two albums.
yeah.
So I mean,
Good.
he was a businessman all the way around too. Like he saw both sides of the business, and also too. I mean, there's documentaries on him too. Like he would sit on there, like on airplane rides, and just write out notation for scores for musical pieces that he was working on, handwritten on music sheets, right? So I mean, and the way he learned all this, guys, he went to the library and read a book. That's how he learned, right? So um
Yeah.
he was
I
a he
mean,
was
he's a brilliant dude,
yeah,
nonetheless.
yeah,
In
yeah,
terms of the catalog, I think it's uneven, but there's no denying his craft and like no denying his vision either.
yeah.
Even if you
Sure.
don't always like it, there's no denying that he was a brave person to do what he did.
Sure enough. Sure enough.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Well, that wraps it up for this episode. I want to thank Ryan Gavalier for joining me. A couple of quick notes. If you guys want to watch a documentary on the making of Overnight Sensation and Apostrophe on YouTube, there is the classic album series that features both a documentary on Frank Zappa that features both Overnight Sensation and Apostrophe. It's combined together because the albums were recorded one after the other. Music was recorded for the albums one after another. So they combined those two albums into one documentary. So, Ryan, did you want to plug anything that you're working on, or any?
Yeah, I have a few things
Please go
actually.
right ahead.
So first of all, I do have a record label too. It's called Gavalier Productions. You can find us online at gavalierproductions.org. Um, I have all of the artists that I have on there so far. I have their information, like their discography so far. I have samples of their songs, etc. Links to like band camps, etc. It's pretty cool so far. And then I also have like TikTok. I have Instagram, Facebook, all for it as well. Couple albums to plug. First of all, I have Behavioral Future Marketplace by Shadow Place. This is an album that my friend Kai and I made. I did the instruments and the production, the mastering, the mixing. He did like the vocals and the song, like the lyrics, art direction, etc. Um, it's a pretty experimental album. So if you're like a Zappa fan, actually, like it
This,
fuses. Sorry.
I was gonna say this might be up their alley. Yeah, like
Yeah, it
yeah,
fuses like electronic, it fuses some classic rock influences, some ambient influences, some progressive rock, some industrial, a little bit of classical influence, some like kind of fusion stuff at times. There's a lot of different stuff on this album. And then also Rand Kelly, who's from like Contrarians and a bunch of other YouTube channels and
yeah,
such, and he has his own channel. Um, I released an album of his recently. It's called No Easy Access. The CDs should actually be here in a few days. So I'll have
yeah.
them up on Bandcamp in a few days, and the album comes out on the 26th. That one is a really cool album. It's like old recordings that ran like demos that he had made. Um, very much to capture like a time capsule of like the 80s and such. That's what I wanted to capture with this album of his. We have other projects we're working on too. But like yeah, this one in particular, he like we had the demos, I turned it into an album, I mixed it, mastered it, um, etc. And it's really fun. It's a mix of like classic rock, some like prog, some electronic like synth pop type of stuff, some
Mhm.
reggae, etc. So that's a really cool one. That's all I got for now. But thanks.
Well, that's
But
quite a bit.
GavalierProductions.org, you could find everything you need there.
Perfect. So, guys, check out gavalierproductions.org, for all you need to know on all the stuff that Ryan's been working on. He's been working on quite a bit, actually. He's going to go far. He's quite the
Thank you.
entrepreneur in terms of his musical output and career. So that's it for now, guys. Uh, please join me. I'm going to be doing a lot, well, not a lot, about 3 more episodes coming up. I'm going to be doing an episode with Bill Schuster tomorrow on New Music Discovery, George Jackson Part 3. We're going to be tackling the albums Heaven and Hell and Night Music. I haven't heard those yet. I'm going to make my notes and give you my impressions on that coming up tomorrow. And I'm going to be doing a show with Peter Ken from the Lizard King channel on our top 10 Rolling Stones albums. That's going to be taping Saturday. That's going to air Sunday. And on the 21st of September, I will be doing a show with Grant Arthur from Grant's Rock Warehouse on the Tea Party's 4th release from 1999, Triptych from EMI Canada. So please check out the Lizard King channel. Check out Grant's Rock Warehouse. They both have fantastic content. Check out the merchandise and the information on GavalierProtections.org. And also, don't forget, click like and subscribe and hit the notification bell to keep yourselves on top of any new content they've got coming up. I will be doing an episode on my own of live album spotlight on Santana's 1973 release, Lotus. That's going to be a mammoth one, believe me. Triple disc set. You're going to love it. So for Ryan Gavalier, I'm Armando Venditti, hoping you guys are having a fantastic day, and that you, again, look after yourselves and one another, and we will see you soon with another episode. Bye for now.
Thanks for having me on.